On a peaceful afternoon in the heart of Kuala Lumpur, a young woman's body suddenly plunged from a great height. She was completely nude, her arms folded across her chest as if she were peacefully asleep. Then, just hours later, the body vanished without a trace, leaving behind a storm of unanswered questions for the public. But to truly grasp the depth of this tragedy, we have to go back many years, back to when the name Ivana Smit still belonged to an innocent little girl in Sittard, a small town in the province of Limburg, in southern Netherlands. The youngest child in her family, Ivana, was 14 years younger than her older brother Randy. She was raised in a multicultural household shaped by Dutch, Indonesian, and Chinese heritage. Her parents, Mr. Marcelino Smith and Mrs. Karen Smith, were both used car dealers, strict but deeply loving toward their daughter. However, the first turning point in Ivana's childhood came in 2002 when she was just 3 years old. Her beloved grandparents had to move to Penang, a city located on the island of the same name in Malaysia. The separation devastated Ivana, so much so that she refused to eat, yearning only to be near them again. Moved by the deep bond between them, her family eventually allowed her to relocate to Penang to live with her grandparents, where she found protection and unconditional love. Once she began her new life in Penang, Ivana thrived in a stable educational environment. She attended school from kindergarten through high school and graduated at the young age of 16. During those years, she developed impressively in both academics and personal skills, becoming fluent in multiple languages, mastering several musical instruments, and receiving formal martial arts training. Despite such a demanding schedule, she never let go of her dream to become an international fashion model. Ivana didn't just dream, she took action. She began modeling at the age of 13, and just 2 years later, she won second place at the Malaysia Supermodel Search, MSS. That achievement became a pivotal moment in her life, opening clear paths toward a professional modeling career. Standing at 5 feet 11 inches tall, Ivana had a commanding presence and a fierce determination to rise in the highly competitive fashion world. Riding on that momentum, Ivana stepped onto the international stage when she competed in the Face of Beauty International pageant in Taiwan in 2014. Together with her roommate, she recorded a Halloween greeting video for the audience. Her glowing smile and warm personality in that short clip were a clear reflection of the confidence and friendliness she brought to the global scene. Continuing her upward journey, Ivana made a bold move at age 18, relocating to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia's capital, to pursue a full-time modeling career. There, she signed with Triumph Agency, regularly walked in fashion shows, and took part in high-end fashion shoots. These milestones only fueled her determination to one day achieve her ultimate goal, to walk the runway as a Victoria's Secret angel. While working in Malaysia, Ivana met Lucas Kramer, a Belgian model. The two gradually became close and eventually formed a romantic relationship. They shared a deep passion for fashion and supported each other's careers. Around the same time, Ivana was preparing to compete in Top Model Belgium 2018 in Paris, an event considered a key stepping stone that could launch her onto the international stage. Alongside her growing professional ambitions, Ivana was also immersing herself in the vibrant social life of Kuala Lumpur. In October 2017, she was introduced to Alexander Johnson and Luna Almaz, an American couple living on the 20th floor of Cap Square Residences, a luxury apartment complex situated between the iconic Petronas Twin Towers and the bustling Surya KLCC Mall. As Ivana got to know them better, she learned that Alexander, 44, was involved in the cryptocurrency business, while Luna, 31, worked as a high school teacher. They had a young daughter and were well known for their energetic lifestyle, frequently seen at some of Kuala Lumpur's most exclusive nightclubs, where Alexander had been a fixture for nearly a decade. Just a few weeks after their first introduction, Ivana ran into the Johnsons again at a special event held at Prime, one of the city's hottest nightclubs, on Halloween night. Luna, who had previously shared that she identified as part of the LGBT community, quickly connected with Ivana on the dance floor. The two performed flirtatious, sensual dance moves, bold, yet still respectful of personal boundaries. That night left a strong impression. The Johnsons later remarked that Ivana seemed far more mature than her 18 years. Alexander recalled that Ivana had even complimented Luna, calling her a very captivating woman. After that evening, the three kept in touch regularly via WhatsApp, exchanging friendly conversations and warm messages. The Johnsons described Ivana as confident and magnetic, while Luna admitted to being drawn to her beauty. Only a few days later, on November 4th, 2017, the Johnsons planned a weekend getaway, just the two of them without their daughter, and invited Ivana to stay with them at the Concord Hotel in Kuala Lumpur. That night, the three shared intimate moments together, marking a shift in their relationship from friendship to something more personal. The next morning, Ivana texted Luna to thank her for the evening and asked what she was up to. Luna replied warmly and expressed interest in seeing Ivana again. That gentle exchange soon led to more frequent meetings between Ivana and the Johnsons. She became a regular at high-end parties and nightclub events around the city, growing increasingly close to the couple. At the time, Ivana was living with her boyfriend while actively pursuing her modeling career and fully embracing the excitement of her youth. However, those late-night parties also introduced her to a more dangerous scene, one where drugs were openly used and temptations lurked everywhere. Amid that whirlwind of nightlife and glamour, December 6, 2017, would mark a turning point just hours before tragedy struck. That evening, Ivana arrived at Mantra Rooftop Bar and Lounge, a high-end venue known for its stunning skyline views and upscale clientele. She was there to work as a crowd model, hired to draw attention and attract guests to the nightclub scene. According to her agent, Ivana started the night looking as radiant as ever. But not long into the evening, she began asking around for ecstasy, a party drug commonly used in nightlife circles. Around 10 p.m., Alexander and Luna arrived at Mantra to meet her. Security cameras captured footage of the three dancing enthusiastically together in the crowd, visibly enjoying themselves. Throughout the night, Ivana and Luna were also seen repeatedly entering and exiting the restroom, raising suspicions of possible drug use. As the night wore on under the haze of alcohol and dim lighting, the group moved on around 2 a.m. on December 7th. They left Mantra Rooftop to head to Nightclub, another exclusive venue, this time to celebrate a friend's birthday. The club catered to a wealthy elite and was also known for its open circulation of recreational drugs. By around 5 a.m., surveillance footage showed Ivana and the Johnsons leaving the club. Alexander was seen carrying Ivana into the elevator, her arms wrapped around his shoulders. Luna followed quietly behind, looking visibly exhausted. Shortly after leaving the club, the three returned to Cap Square residences, heading up to the Johnsons' apartment on the 20th floor. Luna dismissed the babysitter watching their daughter. Alexander went into the bedroom, while Ivana and Luna sat together on the living room sofa, sipping apple cider. A little while later, around 6 a.m., Ivana called her boyfriend, Lucas Kramer. She explained that although she had promised to come home earlier, she decided to stay a bit longer to talk with a friend. Lucas accepted her explanation. However, just minutes later, he received an unexpected phone call from Luna, who calmly told him that Ivana was with her and asked if everything was okay. Caught off guard by the odd call, Lucas found it strange but brushed it off, thinking Ivana was simply spending time with a female friend, as she'd mentioned earlier. He had no idea that she was actually with both Alexander and Luna. At 7 a.m., Ivana sent him a selfie along with a message saying she was resting. Lucas noticed something unusual in her tone, but assumed it was just fatigue from a wild night out. Soon after, at approximately 7:45 a.m., Luna left to drop her daughter off at school and returned home around 8:15 a.m. As she walked back in, she found Ivana awake, lying next to Alexander, who was still asleep. Luna quietly approached and said, "It's done." The two women then moved to the living room and sat on the sofa. According to Luna, Ivana put on music, undressed, and the two shared an intimate moment. Exhausted afterward, Luna went back to the bedroom and lay down next to Alexander. By around 10 a.m., Luna woke up to find Ivana walking around the apartment, talking to herself and laughing. The behavior struck Luna as odd, but still groggy. She lay back down on the sofa and fell asleep again. When she woke up again at 1:25 p.m., she noticed Ivana's clothes, shoes, wallet, and phone were still scattered throughout the apartment, but Ivana herself was nowhere to be seen. Assuming Ivana had taken a few things and gone out for a photo shoot, as she had mentioned during their drinking session, Luna didn't think much of it. But just a little over an hour later, at approximately 2:45 p.m., a resident returning to his apartment on the 6th floor of Cap Square Residences was shocked by what he found outside his balcony. The wooden railing had been broken, and fragments of debris were scattered across the floor. As he stepped closer, he was horrified to discover the naked body of a young woman, lying completely still, arms crossed over her chest in a strange, mummy-like posture, as if intentionally placed. Stunned, the man immediately called the police and reported that he had been out of his apartment since 9 a.m. and had only just returned. This suggested that, assuming the fall actually occurred, it likely happened during a time when no one was home to witness it. However, what baffled everyone was the eerily silent gap of nearly 6 hours. No scream, no sound of impact. Despite what should have been a violent fall from the 14th floor, crashing through a wooden railing, the building remained completely quiet. The body of the young woman lay in the inner courtyard, and it didn't take long to identify her as Ivana Smit. To shed light on that unaccounted time frame, investigators began reviewing surveillance footage from the building, attempting to trace Ivana's last known movements. At 5:44 a.m., she was captured entering the elevator alongside Alexander and Luna, residents of the 20th floor. After that moment, no footage showed her leaving the premises. Following that clue, police, along with the building's management, made their way to the Johnsons' apartment. Around 3 p.m., they attempted to make contact for the first time, but no one responded. From inside, they reported hearing strange noises, like heavy objects being dragged or banged together, and notably, a loud metallic clanging, yet no one came to open the door. Later that day, around 5 p.m., officers returned. This time, Alexander appeared at the door with Luna and let the police in. They both claimed to have no idea what had happened to Ivana, saying they had been asleep during the time she allegedly fell around 10 a.m. Inside the apartment, police found Ivana's belongings, including her clothes, shoes, wallet, and phone, but curiously, her underwear was missing without explanation. These inconsistencies at the scene forced police to detain both Alexander and Luna, not on charges directly related to Ivana's death, but on drug-related offenses. In Malaysia, drug use is treated with utmost severity. Possession of illegal substances can carry the death penalty. Later that evening, the initial drug test results confirmed that both Alexander and Luna tested positive. However, in a puzzling turn, the Johnsons requested a second test, and this time, the results came back negative. The fact that a second test was permitted despite the clear findings from the first raised serious public suspicion, with many questioning whether behind-the-scenes influence or financial leverage had interfered with the process. Public concern deepened when it was revealed that, during their temporary detention, the Johnsons were granted unusually lenient privileges. They were allowed to call their housekeeper and instruct her to clean their apartment. Following their request, the housekeeper disposed of broken apple cider bottles, items that could have contained vital forensic evidence. This significantly disrupted the integrity of the crime scene before investigators had a chance to properly examine it. At the same time, the initial forensic review conducted by 2 Malaysian doctors concluded that Ivana had died from injuries sustained in a fall from a great height and classified it as an accident. Based on the estimated time of rigor mortis onset, between 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock a.m., forensic experts narrowed down the likely time of death to the morning of December 7, 2017. Even as further forensic details were still being evaluated, Malaysian authorities were quick to declare the incident a tragic accident caused by alcohol and drug use. The entire case was closed in less than 24 hours, prompting widespread public outrage over how quickly they dismissed the possibility of foul play. These suspicions only intensified when Lucas Kramer, Ivana's boyfriend, was the first to inform her family of the tragic news. Her parents, Marcelino and Karen, along with her brother Randy, flew to Kuala Lumpur immediately to bring Ivana's body home and demand answers from the authorities. However, instead of receiving a clear explanation, they were met with obstacles. Malaysian officials insisted that the family sign a document declaring Ivana's death an accident, not a homicide, before they would release her body. The family refused, firmly believing that the circumstances pointed to something far more suspicious. Tensions escalated until the authorities finally released the body. But when her parents saw their daughter for the last time, they were stunned to find visible bruises on both her arms and legs. That moment erased any lingering doubt. Despite Malaysian officials insisting it had been an accident, Ivana's family became convinced there had been a cover-up. They immediately brought her body back to the Netherlands for an independent autopsy. This time, the examination was carried out by Dr. Frank van de Goot, a renowned Dutch forensic pathologist. His early findings directly contradicted the Malaysian report, revealing a severe head injury that appeared to have occurred before the fall. Even more troubling, blood tests detected the presence of alcohol, cocaine, and PMMA, a hallucinogenic stimulant known to cause heart failure and death, even in extremely small doses. Delving deeper into the forensic evidence, Dr. Frank van de Goot paid particular attention to one alarming detail. None of the Johnsons tested positive for PMMA, even though the substance was found in Ivana's bloodstream. This strongly suggested that Ivana may have come into contact with the drug at a different time and place, separate from anyone else in the apartment. In addition, van de Goot noted the unusual positioning of her body. Ivana's arms were tightly crossed over her chest, a posture rarely seen in high-impact freefalls, as the human body's natural reflex is to extend the arms and legs in anticipation of impact. But that wasn't all. Dr. van de Goot continued documenting signs suggesting that Ivana might have already been dead before the fall. He observed that rigor mortis, muscle stiffening that typically sets in about 1 hour after death, had already begun. Furthermore, the very minimal amount of blood found at the scene raised the possibility that Ivana's heart may have stopped beating before she hit the ground. Male DNA, later confirmed to belong to Alexander, was discovered under Ivana's fingernails and inside her body. Adding to the suspicion was the design of the balcony where the incident took place. The railing was unusually high, and air conditioning units were installed right along the outer edge, making it extremely difficult for someone to accidentally fall, even if they were impaired. This single detail pushed Ivana's family toward a haunting possibility. Her death may not have been an accident at all, but the result of an intentional act. In the final week before Christmas, Ivana was cremated in a private ceremony held in Roermond City, Netherlands, on December 21st, 2017. Though devastated, her parents, Marcelino and Karen, vowed to fight for justice no matter what it took. They were determined to uncover the truth, even if it meant going up against powerful forces that seemed to be protecting Alexander and his wife. In response to their unwavering persistence, by July 2018, under increasing pressure from Ivana's family, Malaysian authorities launched a full-scale forensic inquest to re-examine the circumstances surrounding her death. While not a criminal trial, the inquest was seen as the only remaining opportunity to thoroughly review all the evidence and uncover the real cause behind the tragedy. Notably, Alexander and Luna were completely absent throughout the inquest. That's because, shortly after Ivana's death, the couple left Malaysia and relocated to the United States, and from that point on, they refused to cooperate with investigators or respond to any official inquiries. Their suspicious silence made witness testimony a crucial component of the investigation. Multiple individuals were called to testify, including a resident on the 14th floor named Tan. He claimed that around 10 a.m. he heard a loud thud resembling something heavy falling from above. However, when he looked around, he said he saw nothing unusual. In a separate development, a building staff member contradicted statements previously made by the Johnson family. This employee reported that Ivana had appeared confused and unstable when she entered the lobby that morning, leading the public to question whether her mental state may have been compromised at the time of the incident. In addition, Adam White, a friend of Alexander, also came forward, stating that Alexander had broken down in tears while talking about Ivana's death. However, due to his close personal ties with someone considered a potential suspect, his testimony was quickly deemed biased and ultimately dismissed from the list of credible witnesses. On the forensic front, experts presented conflicting conclusions. One Malaysian specialist claimed that Ivana was still alive at the time of the fall, based on injuries found in her abdominal and thoracic cavities. However, the judge dismissed this opinion, citing a lack of both legal and scientific grounds to support such a determination. In stark contrast, Dr. Frank van de Goot, who participated in the hearing remotely, offered an entirely different perspective. He argued that Ivana had died before the fall, pointing to signs of rigor mortis and an unusual absence of blood. He also emphasized that the bruises on her body were inconsistent with those typically caused by a fall, and instead suggested she may have been assaulted prior to her death. Adding to the controversy, a female Malaysian police officer testified that her superior, identified only as Faisal, had ordered the case to be treated as an accident from the very beginning, even though she suspected foul play. She also described an intensely pressured work environment where subordinates were pushed to close the case as quickly as possible. Despite the unresolved contradictions, on September 14, 2018, the presiding judge ruled that Ivana's death was accidental, attributing it to a loss of control after consuming alcohol and stimulants. Ivana's family strongly objected, arguing that the entire investigation lacked seriousness and failed to honor the truth. In a determined effort to uncover what really happened, the Smith family enlisted the help of Mark Williams Thomas, a former British criminal investigator, and David Wells, a high-profile attorney. In 2019, both men traveled to Kuala Lumpur to gather evidence and compile an independent report. In a public statement, Wells asserted that if the case had occurred in the United Kingdom, it would have been classified as a homicide. The pressure from the family, combined with the findings in the independent report, triggered a major turning point. In March 2019, the Malaysian High Court agreed to reopen the case and officially overturn the previous accidental death ruling. The court acknowledged that some of Ivana's injuries had likely occurred prior to the fall. At that point, Alexander and Luna were officially named as suspects, and the investigation was relaunched. For Ivana's family, this development brought a glimmer of hope. Still, several questions remained unanswered, such as why the Johnsons abruptly left Malaysia, the reasons behind their second drug test request, and what truly happened that morning. After the case was reopened, Alexander and Luna, who were by then living in Miami, Florida, continued to refuse cooperation with authorities. In 2020, Malaysian police issued an international search request through Interpol's Green Notice, but all efforts to locate the couple have so far proven unsuccessful. While following up on leads in the United States, a Daily Mail reporter and film crew unexpectedly spotted Luna on the streets of Miami. She remained polite but requested not to be filmed, sharing that both she and Alexander had received online threats, including an anonymous call threatening to kidnap their daughter. Public pressure began to build nationwide. Ivana's case outraged many in Malaysia, with citizens criticizing the influence of wealthy foreigners and the gaps within the justice system. Her family, led by her mother Karen, continued to campaign for justice. By 2023, they submitted a formal petition to Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, urging the government to reopen the criminal investigation. This move immediately drew renewed attention from both the public and international media. In 2024, Ivana's family escalated their legal fight by filing a civil lawsuit against the Malaysian government, the Inspector General of Police, and the Ministry of Home Affairs, accusing them of negligence and mishandling the investigation. Ivana's mother stressed that authorities had failed to secure the crime scene, rushed to declare the cause of death, and conducted a superficial investigation. As public criticism intensified, on August 28, 2024, the Malaysian government proposed a settlement to resolve the lawsuit. The family initially expressed openness to the idea on the condition that it was pursued in good faith. However, the negotiations ultimately broke down, and the case was scheduled to go to trial on October 30, 2024. In parallel with the civil proceedings, on October 14, 2024, Malaysian police issued a new Interpol Green Notice in an effort to locate Alexander, now 51, and Luna, 37, hoping to bring them in for questioning. The development raised the family's hopes once again. Just 2 weeks later, they reached a critical milestone. The civil trial against the Malaysian government officially began on October 30th, 2024, marking a significant legal breakthrough. However, the possibility of launching a criminal trial against the Johnsons remained uncertain. Interpol was still searching for Alexander and Luna, but extraditing them from the United States to Malaysia would be a legally complex and time-consuming process. Furthermore, the existing evidence might still fall short of the threshold required for criminal prosecution. And perhaps, in the end, the most heartbreaking part of this case isn't just the tragic death of an 18-year-old girl, but the painful silence that has shrouded the truth for so long. 7 years have passed, yet Ivana Smit still hasn't found peace, not beneath the earth, but in the aching memories of those still waiting for justice. What do you think about this case? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the next case we cover.